Now you should have received a worksheet with your hand reading, and it's got a picture of a hand on it. And we're going to start at the bottom by the thumb, and we'll work our way around the fingers, and then we'll do the lines on the palm very last of all. First thing you've got to know is the left hand is the past, the right hand is the present and the future. So most of the reading that I do is on the present hand, which would be the right hand. It doesn't matter what handed you are. The right hand is always the present, the left hand is always the past. So there's a couple of things I read on the past hand, the guardian angels and where you'll marry, except you're not going to marry again. Look over here in the lower bottom corner. The length of your fingers then is your talents, and whether they're short or long doesn't matter. You have all different kinds of talents. Everybody has different talents. So short fingers mean one thing, long fingers mean another. Nothing's good or bad, it just is. It's the way you're born. Look in that lower right hand corner, palm shapes. Now you got kind of a squarish palm, which is very athletic. I'm not surprised that you run and you swim. Athletic, practical, but at the base of your palm, you got kind of an artistic look. You see how that kind of flares out at the edge, makes it kind of roundish, like Picasso and other famous artists and whatnot. They have really round hands, almost like a pancake. But you got a lot of athletic stuff in there at the top part of your palm. So I marked that artistic just a little bit, slight at the side, kind of at the base. Okay, look in the upper right hand corner of the sheet, and that is your type of fingertips. That is your personality. And you've got, and I'll read those on the right hand, so there's only 5. You've got 2 pointy fingers. You like fine things. You're very sensitive, diplomatic, kind of impractical, but you're always a collector when you got the pointy fingertips. Okay, then you've got 3 round fingertips. Intuitive, quick, compassionate. Generally people in the health field, the doctors, the nurses, the social workers, people that help other people, they have kind of the round fingertips. Very compassionate fingertips. Intuitive, quick, compassionate, said you should be in the health field. Starting down here at the thumb, at the base of that, if you're looking at your hand chart here, let's start with the thumb. Now, it's kind of a short thumb. Not very many women have short thumbs. That means you work really well with numbers. I see that a lot on the Asian, especially the Japanese people that have the short thumbs. And they're the ones that become civil engineers and accountants and people that deal with numbers. So you got kind of a short thumb. You work very well with numbers. Your index finger is very good. It's quite a long finger. Now, it's not as long as your middle finger. You don't want those 2 side fingers on that middle finger. You don't want them to be as long as that middle finger, because that middle finger is your business finger. That needs to be about the length of the palm. But that index finger is your teaching finger. Sales finger, political, the boss finger, the supervisor finger. That means you like to manage. You like to manage. But then you teach, don't you? So that's very good. That's nice and long. The middle finger is a little bit long. That needs to be about the length of the palm. And that's about what it is, about the length of the palm. That's your business sense. So that means you know how to make money. So that's fairly good. Now, that ring finger and your little finger are in relation to your brain. Your ring finger is your right brain, which is your creative area of your brain. And then your little finger is your left brain, which is the scholarly part. That means you work well with words and letters. So you've got a really long ring finger. It's even longer than your index finger when you hold your hand up. And that's excellent. Creative, imaginative, inventive. But besides that, you got a line running from your palm up into that finger, which is it's a major creative achievement line. But then you create all day long, don't you, if you're an artist? So that's an excellent, and it's a strong line too. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen such strong lines that run up into that creative finger for a long time. Now that little finger, that's your writer's finger. It means you work well with words and letters. You don't have a very long finger. That needs to come up to the line that's right at the base of the top joint of that ring finger. And it doesn't quite make it, kind of a short finger. That means you're a very active person. You don't like to sit and do paperwork all the time. So if you're going to be a writer, you you might have to take some classes and learn how to write and get some education on your writing, because it's not inborn in you like your artist finger is. Okay, that short finger, that's not a bad finger. I see that very often on people who are teachers or managers or leadership. Generally that short finger matches up with the long index finger. Okay, now that section right underneath the little finger is your marriage lines, or your marriage line. You have got one marriage line. That's it. Can you see it? It's dark up in... It wasn't too bad of a marriage. It's got some color in it. Not too bad of a marriage. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see if this 30-year one is a marriage line down here. Because you were married when you were 19, weren't you? I might have to eat my words there. You might have two marriage lines. That bottom line, look at that section there. Look at the end of your heart line. See where the heart line starts in between the index finger and the middle finger. And it comes along the top of your palm, then it ends at the outside of the hand. Generally there's little tassels on the end. Those are flirt lines. You got really good little flirt lines, which means that you interact well with people. Then at the end of that heart line and the ring around the little finger, that's where your marriage lines show, and they show horizontally. They come from the outside and they come inwards towards the palm. You can see the one marriage line really clear, but there's a timeline there. That first third of that section is about about when you become an adult, about 18 to, well, the first section is about 20s and your 30s, and just a couple of years before. And then that next section would be your 40s and your 50s, and that last section would be your 60s, 70s, and 80s. That marriage line, I think it just sits too darn high in the hand. I think that if you had a really bad marriage the first time, that's got to be that line that's right just smack above where those flirt lines are. It almost makes it look like it's a flirt line, but I think that's your marriage line. If it wasn't a good marriage, it's kind of fades in and out, in and out, in and out. So that would have been your first marriage line, but boy, it's not good. And then it bends down at the end. When it bends down at the end, he dies before you do. Maybe you're not even in contact with him anymore. But it bends down if he dies before you do. But then you got divorced. So a divorce is a fork on the end of the line. Let me see if I can see. You would have got a fork. Well, I do. I see a fork right there before that line ends. Alright, that's your divorce. And then there's a big space in there. And then you get a marriage line. Because I saw a little marriage marking. If you have a chance to get married, it will show in your left hand, and it shows with little, let me go to your left hand, it shows with little markings on that fate line. It makes a little Y, like the letter Y. It's a little fork in that fate line. Boy, in that left hand, even in your left hand, you got a major achievement line going up into that ring finger, that creative finger. Okay, that fate line starts right at the base of your palm. It goes right straight up the middle of your hand, and it heads up to that middle finger, that Saturn finger. If it goes anywhere else, it's not your fate line. Here we are. It crosses over that headline at about age 40. Well, you probably had a chance to marry when you was in your late 30s. Well, let's see, you were still married then, weren't you? You were 38. You might have had a chance to marry shortly after you was divorced. Well, I don't see a chance to marry until you get clear up to... You got a funny little joggy line there at about 50. But you said you're not going to marry, but, of course, you're the master of your fate. You're the boss. That might be just a companion that you get. And I don't get a fork in that line then till I get clear up to about 60, but you're only going to live till you're about 86. Well, that's an awful long line. You might get a chance to marry at 56, and then you may get a chance to marry. It doesn't mean you'll take it, but you got a chance to marry at 56. So you got two chances to marry there, one at 60 and one at 56. Now, whether you take it or not is another story. I don't think you'll take the one at 56. You might take the one at 60, though. I still only get 3 children in the line, but I get 3 children, then I get a half a line. And boy, I'll tell you, that was a rough death that you went through, because I can see that on your guardian angel lines, how it changes in there. Remember that little half line in there, those children lines come down from the ring around the little finger, and they just come right straight down, and they're just little tiny lines. You read from the inside out. 1, 2, 3. Boy, your kids were close together, weren't they? Let me see what ages your kids are. 19. Oh, your kids are 27, 19, and 11. That's not going to change. On your hand, I can't see grandkids very good. They're quite a light line, and oh, there's grandkid. You got a whole bunch of little grandkids in there running around. 1, 2, 3. One really smart one. Line goes clear up in the finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then I can't see the rest. They go off the back of the hand. This is your heart line. You want to see a nice curve in that heart line. It means you've come from a loving, caring family. You've got a pretty good little curve in there. I think you came from a fairly good family, but you're getting some stress on it. You want to see a clean line. That heart line starts in between your index finger and your middle finger. You want to see a clean line. You don't want to see anything that's fussy. When you get underneath that ring finger, you're getting little islands, and it's got a little break in it. It makes a little oval line in there. You're getting it's a break in the energy, and you're getting a little island in that heart line. Probably in your 40s or 50s, which is right underneath that ring finger. And then you're getting some heart stress, but I think it's coming off your neck. I'll tell you about that when you get down to your head and your spine line. But it's a little heart health stress in your 40s or 50s. Other than that, you got a nice curve in that heart line, loving and caring. That heart line shows your affections, or your emotions, not your affections, your emotions, and your health. Now jump over there to underneath your index finger, and that you should see a nice little fat mound in it. Yours is just excellent. You got a really good little mound in it. That's your sixth sense. That's your intuition. Or your psychic ability. Let me see if you got little psychic markings. If you got little X's in between that head line and that heart line, oh, you got one big one there right in the middle. That means you're a little bit psychic. That means you got to listen to those little promptings inside your head. Here's how you use that. If you've got a problem you've got to solve, clear your mind completely and let it go without thinking about anything for about 30 minutes. Don't think about the problem or anything for 30 minutes. And then in 30 minutes, come back to the problem. You'll have the answers to it. So listen to the promptings inside your head, because you are really quite intuitive. Let's go over to that money line. That's a line coming off your the end of the head line, and it goes right straight up that little finger. It's hard to read. It's real thin line. It doesn't have any color in it. See, you got 3 little lines together right at the first. That's the first part of your adult life. You got 3 little lines, like 3 incomes in there, and then it changes to 1 income. That second line goes up there till about age 50. So you've got a couple of incomes in there, but then it does change to 1 line. So that area right above the heart line, it's 1 line and it goes up. Got a slight break in it, probably towards your 60s, but then it heads on up to that little finger. It's a fairly good money line. It's strong too. Fingers at the base, that's where they go into the palm, have spaces in between, which equals a very independent character. You got a lot of space in between your fingers down there at the base. Usually people that have that spaces, they're very independent, and you like your own way no matter what. You're kind of hard to live with because you're so darn independent. Now we get down to the headline. That headline sits. It's in between the thumb and the index finger where it starts, and it sits a little bit high up in the hand, which means, again, it means independence, but it means also ambition. Now, going the straighter across your hand, the headline goes to smarter. You're a very intelligent hand. You don't want to see that dip on the end. It's depression, but yours doesn't dip on the end. You don't want to see the little islands in there and anything written in red. The little islands, that's a problem. Look at that chart that says understanding your cervical spine, and it shows a vertebrae at the bottom. And out of each side of each vertebrae, you've got 2 little nerves that come out each side. And then they go to different areas of your body, then you end up in your hands and your feet. Well, if those little vertebrae that are stacked up on your spine get twisted out of place, they're going to cause problems. And you got some problems going on there in your neck area. As do most of the people that have computers. They bend over those computers all the time. Stress that neck right at the base, and that's where I've marked it, is right at the base and down just a little bit below the base in an area that they call scoliosis area between the shoulder blades. And that's the area where your heart nerves are, right at the base of that neck, on that 2T, which is your second thoracic area. And you're out pretty bad right through there. You might have to go get that straightened up. Or, here's a little trick that you can do. I show the girls that sit at their computer desk this little trick. You stick your arms right straight out in front of you, and you lock your fingers together. Then you turn your palms outwards. And you put your arms right straight above your head. And that means your palms are facing the ceiling. And push your arms straight back. And when you push that back, that's going to go pop, 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 pop. And it'll pop those vertebrae back in place if you're lucky. Then you won't have to go to a physical therapist or a chiropractor to get them straightened up. So it'll pop those into place. And don't worry about little pops. I talked to the doctors and they said that's just the gases releasing from the joints. So it'll pop that in place. And you do that a couple of times a day, especially if you're leaning over your computer, or if you're doing something, if you're drawing or something where you're having to lean over. It's going to pop that spine back in place because you're getting stretched. You're getting a turned vertebrae right there where your heart nerves are, right at the base of your neck, and it goes over and it sends out a little pain signal, and that gets a muscle spasm in, and then it holds it out of place in your spine. So you get that spine straightened up, and you'll be in really good shape. Now, also that causes a little bit of depression, and it causes you to be tired and all sorts of things when you're out of place right there in that. Well, here, I'll read it to you. And functional heart conditions, chest conditions, chronic fatigue, anxiety. Okay, and remember that your headline sits quite high, which means you're born independent. You probably drove your mama a little bit crazy. Look over there where the Helpline sits. It's right by that word sociable, clear across the palm to the outside of the palm. And it says it's the Helpline. That has to do with your internal organs. If the bottom of that spine is stressed at all, let me see on yours. If you're out of place in the top part of your spine, it's going to throw you out in your lower spine to compensate. And you're out just a little bit right there in at the hip area. So if you're out of place, you're getting some stress in those internal organs. You got a couple little breaks in that. You got one break for sure in that internal organs. You got something going on in the lower part of your body. Your internal organs are your colon, your stomach, your liver, your pancreas. You got one little problem in there, but it might be caused because your spine's out of place. Now let's go over here to your sexual libido. You want to see a nice little fat pad right at the base of that thumb. Yours looks good. That tells you whether you're well hydrated or not, whether you're getting enough water in your body. Body runs on water, or liquids, so you've got to be well hydrated. Yours looks good. You don't want to see little wrinkles in there. You put your hand on that screen evidently when you took the picture, and it kind of flattened that area out. But check that and make sure that you got a nice little fat mound in there. If not, you got to get 32 ounces of water a day, because I've written on there excellent, well hydrated, and that's good for your sexual libido too. Now I think we're down to your lifeline. That lifeline is going to show who your guardian angels are in your left hand. This is one of the few times I read the left hand. On the left hand, you see the little lines on the inside of the lifeline, in towards the thumb area. And they'll come up, they will touch on the lifeline. There's a pretty good timeline on that lifeline, about every half an inch. And right as you're looking right flat onto the hand, right there in between the thumb and the index finger, that's about age 10. where those little lines come up and touch on the lifeline, that is the age you were when somebody passed away that you were bonded to, that you were quite close to. Aunties, uncles, siblings, parents, cousins, old boyfriends, old girlfriends. So here's the ages you were when someone passed away and they've become a guardian angel to you. And if I've circled it, it's really important. I've got one at age 12, one at 14 is circled, age 28, age 38, and age 46. Then I've got a little asterisk there by 46. There's a little note that says, death of person at age 46 was very difficult for you. There's kind of some messy little lines in there around 46. And as far as I can tell, I think that was your niece that committed suicide. And you have to remember, when I'm counting those down, I can be off like a year or so, because I'm just counting 1/8 of an inches on there, and I can't use a tape measure because it's curved. So the one about age 46 was a hard death for you, but that person has become a guardian angel to you. Then if you've ever had a visit from a guardian angel, it shows on your right hand, and it just comes up and touches there's an extra line. You've got a really good extra line that comes up and touches. See, it's on the inside of your lifeline. Comes and it touches about age 12. Oh, you got a death then at age 12, don't you? Maybe whoever died come back and visited you. Okay, now the lifeline. On that it has to do with your pulmonary system, your lungs and your breathing. You got one little break in that line. You don't want to see breaks in that line because that means you stop breathing. You got a little slight, just a real slight break at about 39, 40. And it's possible that was an operation where they put you on artificial breathing. Or you could have had an accident or something and stopped breathing. But that's where the little break is right there, kind of in your late 30s or your early 40s. Okay, what shows on that lifeline also are your achievement lines. These are kind of important. They're little lines that come up off the lifeline, and they kind of point towards the index finger. So, sir, I've circled the really good ones, the ones that are real long, or the ones that have a lot of color in them, or that are a real strong line. So, look at the upper left-hand corner of your chart. Here's your achievement lines. Good at these ages: 15, circled at 20, 23, 24, 25, circled at 27 and a half, circled at 28, 33, circled at 36, 43, 45, 48. 51, 54, circled at 56, 58, 61, circled at 66, circled at 68, circled at 70. Now, your last line then is your fate line. And your fate line has to do, if you'll read that down in your lower right-hand corner of your chart, the fate line has to do with your career and your lifestyle. I can't tell which is which. When it breaks and changes, it's either your career or your lifestyle. Generally, it's your career. Or it gets a fork off of it at these ages. 19, 25, circled at 30, that's a fairly good break. Then from 38 to 41, you got 2 lines going in there. That means 2 jobs or 2 responsibilities. And then you got one at 44, a break in the line at age 44. Then from 47 to 54, 2 lines or 2 jobs. And then at 60, there's a big break at 60. Actually, it's kind of a fork off there. And then that line goes on up. Where that crosses over the line that's right at the base of the Saturn finger, that's age 80. But it's already changed. It's already changed by then. See that strong line going up and crosses over that, right there where that breaks. It changes and the line goes up, and then that line goes on up into the finger, and that's how long you're going to live. You're going to live till about 85, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, no, I get 88. My guess is you'll take that marriage line at age 60 and marry, because that is a good marriage line. Unless that's a really strong relationship line. I don't think so. I think it's a marriage line. It's too strong. But Remember, you're very independent. Okay, you actually have a really good hand. Get rid of that little mess there in the neck, and you'll see those lines clean right up. They'll clean right up in about 2 months. See, you're getting right at the end of that headline. You're getting you're getting a slight little fork on that. That's a little bit of a depression line, but I'm not writing it in because it's not big enough. And I think you're getting some depression right now, thinking about your life. And who knows, you might take that marriage line at age 56. Who knows? On that major creative line, that line comes from your creative finger, comes clear down in your palm, and it swings out into that high imagination area, that Mount of Luna. That's where your brain never stops. It just keeps going and going. And that major creative achievement line swings clear over into that imagination area. I'll bet you do some very imaginative painting stuff. Okay, this is Kat Anders.